Am I the asshole for keeping my late wife's money aside for our children? I lost my late wife when our children were young. She had money that was hers, we had joint and separate finances. Anything that was her separate finances is being saved for our children. Where the question of this comes in is I have remarried and I have a stepchild and another biological child with my present wife. She was always aware that I consider this money for the children I had with my late wife only. But recently she feels it's unfair because they have money set aside for the future that will at least help get them started after they turn 18, while we sometimes had to make sacrifices due to inflation, etc. The latest thing was my stepdaughter wanted to join these dance classes that would help in her dream of professional dancing. We could not afford those specific dance classes. My wife was upset. She wanted to do this so badly for my stepdaughter. And for those who'll ask, the bio father is not in the picture and has not been found so he can pay child support, and yes, he was searched for on more than one occasion, but my wife has no idea where her ex is. She wanted to know why there's money set aside for just 2 of the kids for their future instead of using it now to make our lives easier. I told her my late wife wanted this for them and I believe the money should be spent on my children with my late wife anyway. I told her we still had a good life. We just didn't have all the luxuries. And like a lot of families we struggled when inflation hit, but we were still doing good. My wife cannot access this money, by the way, and I know that will also be asked. I also have arrangements made in case something happens to me. My wife then said that we could pay for extracurriculars for all 4 kids out of the money and have that off our minds and we could get back to saving, etc. I said no. She told me I'm acting like my late wife had left a will with instructions, which she didn't, and she also accused me of treating my stepdaughter and my youngest child like they are less deserving. I said the money is not mine. It was my late wife's and it will be our children's, and that my wife should stop treating it as anything else. She told me I'm being very unreasonable. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. The inheritance from your deceased wife was a premarital asset. It's not in the money pot. It's in the money pot, and you have been saving it for the children you had with your first wife. Your wife doesn't have to like it, but it is what it is. She's not entitled to use the money. Not the asshole, and just wrap the money up in a formal trust for your 2 children whose mother passed. Have it time limited at 25 when they get it, and from 18 for only education. Your wife will need to get a job to fund your stepdaughter's extras and get over herself. I'd suggest a few sessions of couples therapy to get on the same page. Not the asshole, this money was from your late wife and it is for the children you both had together. It is not for any stepchildren or other children you might have with someone else. If it was a need, like a medical issue maybe, I could possibly see using some of those funds, but anything that is a want, nope. Your current wife is the unreasonable one. But recently she feels it's unfair because they have money set aside for the future that will at least help get them started after they turn 18, while we sometimes had to make sacrifices due to inflation, etc. I'd say it's unfair these children had to grow up without their mother, and money isn't love, but it helps that it's their mother's money that gives them a head start in life. And yes, she is their mom now, but it's not the same thing. Not the asshole. Your current wife is not entitled to your kids' inheritance from their mom. Put it in a trust so she can't touch it. Designate as someone you trust to look after them. That's not your current wife. Not the asshole. This money belonged to their mom. She has no connection to your current stepchild or bio child. They are not her responsibility. That money is for the kids who are. You need to make it clear that it is a hard boundary that your wife can't mention and that it isn't family money. Am I the asshole for not encouraging my daughter to share with my niece? Yesterday was my daughter's first birthday. We didn't do anything much, but my mom and sister came to visit and my niece, 7, came too. For my daughter's birthday, I bought her few little bits, but her main present was a foam ball pit with little plastic balls. My daughter absolutely loves the ball pit. She got in it straight away and loves kicking her legs in the balls. My niece also loves the ball pit, and I've got no problem with her also playing with it, but my daughter gets really mad when my niece also sits in it with her. It's not really big enough for both of them and my daughter gets very frustrated and angry. She was crying and generally getting upset. I asked my niece to get out for a bit and let my daughter play in it, seeing as it's her present. My sister said I shouldn't have told her not to play in it with her and my daughter has to learn to share. I told my sister that my daughter absolutely does not need to share her birthday present, and if she wants to play in it, she should be allowed to without my niece bothering her. My sister called me selfish and an but the way I see it is, it's my child's birthday, she should be able to play with her presents by herself if she wants. It's meant for my daughter, not for my niece. It's her present and if she doesn't want to share it, she shouldn't have to. This morning my sister is still insisting I'm an am I? Your daughter is 1 and doesn't have the mental capacity to understand. Besides, it is her birthday gift. As your daughter gets older, sharing will be important to develop in friendships and socially. However, she would still not required to share her every possession, especially special ones. Your niece is 7, and is a good age to learn how to play with the 1-year-old gently by sitting next to the ball pit and interacting with your 1-year-old. If your niece doesn't want to do that, she is still at a good age to learn to use the ball pit when your daughter is not in it or play with something else. Not the asshole, but your sister needs to learn that just because her kid wants to use something that isn't hers, the person who owns it isn't required to share it. Not the asshole. It's her birthday present and this was on her birthday. And it's not big enough for 2 people anyway. You obviously will be teaching your daughter that she needs to share, but she doesn't need to share everything, all the time, with everyone who wants something from her. Your sister should have told her daughter, honey, you're a big girl now, you need to let your cousin enjoy her birthday present by herself right now. You can't always have what you want, which is also a very valuable lesson for every child to learn. Not the asshole. Your sister is unreasonable and selfish. She expects a 1-year-old to learn to share her gift on her birthday but doesn't understand that her 7-year-old needs to learn to let others enjoy their gift, especially a baby, without grab it. It's very hypocritical. Your daughter has no awareness of things. She doesn't even know how to speak. It's already great that your niece was able to play with the toy a little. Tell your sister a 1-year-old baby should not have to share toys with a child 6 years older if it causes the baby to be stressed and upset. If your sister is not able to have empathy for other people's children and realize her child cannot have everything she wants, she is the one being selfish and she is doing her child a disservice with this kind of attitude. Not the asshole. Mainly because of the ages. Just turned 1 is too young to expect her to understand sharing. 7 is old enough to understand she's too big to fit in a 1-year-old's ball pit, especially together, and old enough to understand a toddler won't be good at sharing and will want to be the first to play with her new presents. Your sister's expectations are unreasonable and she's enabling your niece's negative behavior. Not the asshole. Your daughter is 1-year-old, for crying out loud. She doesn't have the mental capacity for understanding sharing at this point, but your 7-year-old niece does. I would have explained to niece that at some point, your daughter was going to come out to eat, or take a nap, or something, and then she could go play inside it for a bit. Not the asshole. Her first birthday means that she is still a literal baby. Ball pits for toddlers are really small. I cannot even fathom saying an actual baby should have to give up playing to allow a 7-year-old to play with a baby toy. My daughter has to learn to share. Somebody needs to learn how to share, but it isn't the baby. Am I the asshole for refusing to share my inheritance with my siblings even though they're struggling? So, here's some context. I, 28F, am the youngest of 3 siblings. My parents recently passed away unexpectedly and left behind a will. In the will, my parents left me the majority of their estate, including their house and some savings. My older siblings, 34F and 32M, were left significantly less, but they were given a fair amount too. The reasoning behind this, according to my parents, is that I've always been the one taking care of them, helping them out financially, and managing the house. My siblings, on the other hand, have been pretty absent. They've always struggled with maintaining jobs, and I've bailed them out financially several times. My parents believed I would use the inheritance responsibly, whereas they weren't sure about my siblings. Here's where things get tricky. Both of my siblings are now in a financial crisis. They've come to me asking if I'd be willing to share more of my inheritance to help them out. They're struggling with rent, and one of them has medical bills they can't cover. They've accused me of being selfish and not doing the right thing, since I have more than they do now. The thing is, I've already helped them out so many times over the years, often at the cost of my own financial security. I feel like my parents left things this way for a reason, and I should honor their wishes. I've worked hard to get where I am, and I feel like constantly bailing out my siblings won't teach them to be more responsible. I'm not rolling in cash either. I'm still working hard to build my own life and future. Now, my siblings have been telling our extended family that I'm greedy and heartless for not sharing more of the inheritance, and a lot of them agree. I'm feeling a lot of guilt, but I'm also frustrated because I don't think it's fair that I'm expected to keep rescuing them. So, am I the asshole for refusing to share my inheritance with my struggling siblings? Not the asshole. You're following your parents' wishes. If they wanted your siblings to have the money, they would have given it to them. If your extended family is so concerned about it, then they can help your siblings out. And you know they won't, because it's easier to give away someone else's money than their own. Your parents, by their wills, said your siblings weren't worthy of any more money than they received, and that it would waste it on them. Your parents knew them better than anyone else, and that's why they did what they did. How is this your fault? Why should you pay for it? It's not, you shouldn't. My parents made the decision on what they felt was equitable. I'm not going against their choices. I'm going to honor their decision. Extended family don't have all the facts. Perhaps point that out to them, without giving details, and tell them they are welcome to give them money. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. What have they spent their inheritance on since they were given a fair amount? Have they squandered it knowing little sis will bail them out as always? Just remember, no is a complete sentence. Not the asshole. Tell them the money is gone. It is not accessible and has been locked into long-term investments. There is no way you can withdraw any of it. If your parents added up everything they gave them to help out over the years, you likely got equal shares of their estate. They are going to need to learn to adult without anyone enabling them anymore. A lot of hospitals have bill forgiveness programs for people who don't make a lot of money. If you feel inclined to help, and you don't have to, you can help them check if they qualify. But don't throw your money away, you know they'll just come for more. Am I the asshole for telling my sister I would never let her watch my kids? My sister offered to take my 3-year-old with her home to Chicago for a month to help me out. My 30F, older sister, 48F, lives in Chicago and we live in North Carolina. I am the youngest of 9 and I never formed a relationship with her. I tried a long time ago but it just didn't work out. A little background of our relationship. In her childhood, our mother allowed some bad things to happen to her, so I genuinely believe that she took her frustrations out on me instead of our mother, so I tried to give her grace. In my childhood, she treated me like a stepsister. She treated me like I was a nuisance to be around. She would call me names and would pick at me about the smallest things. She would show blatant favoritism by getting my cousins gifts and not getting me anything as a child. She would do this in front of me. She would talk down to me. She never tried spending quality time with me. Whenever she would talk to me, it would always be about what I was doing wrong. There's so much more, but I would be typing all day. Now that we're older, she doesn't even call me. I have called her on numerous occasions to check in on her. For example, when she was admitted into the hospital because she had an allergic reaction and when she almost cut her fingers off, I called her. When my daughter was in the hospital, she never called to check on me to see if I was okay or to see if my baby was okay. If anything, she made me feel guilty for being in the hospital with my child while she was having heart surgery. She literally asked me, "Why has our mother been watching your children for 2 weeks?" They knew why. When I reminded her about my child's heart surgery, she says to me, "Well, your other children miss you and you need to get them. I'm not sure why you're so concerned about your child in the hospital." She won't remember any of it when she gets older. She asked me why I said no. And I told her, I am not leaving my child for an entire month with someone I don't trust in an entire different state. I don't even know you. You've never showed empathy towards me or her in the past and you expect me to leave her with you. I would never in my life do that. Now everyone is calling me an asshole because I hurt her feelings. AITA? I don't even care if you two were close. Who in their right mind would just send their kid off out of state for a month? That's just bonkers. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I am so proud of you for telling the truth and holding a healthy boundary. I am so proud of you. Dysfunctional families rally around abusers and bully survivors. Their behavior bullying you confirms who they are. How do they even know what you said to her? Did she run to them to tell them and gang them up against you? How is any of this their business? It's not. You did well to get away from them. Good job. Ignore the haters. Anyone calling you an asshole that is not her is being manipulated. Best way to respond is, I know you know better than to believe everything you hear. And, I wouldn't be discussing our private business with anyone, if they ask you to dish. You got this. Good job. Not the asshole. But why are you even speaking to this person? You share DNA, but you don't share a relationship. Walk away. Your sister was 18 when you were born. You aren't by any chance her child, are you? Because that is the first thought I had as I read her post. Not the asshole. You have more than enough reasons not to accept. Now they are worried about their feelings, but before they were worried about yours? Were they worried about your relationship with your sister? Remain firm in your decision, which in my opinion is the correct one. Not the asshole. Your sister's history of mistreatment and lack of empathy make her an unsafe choice for your child. Your priority is your daughter's safety, not your sister's feelings.